The house stood alone at the end of a narrow, winding road, hidden behind gnarled trees that clawed at the sky. It was old, the kind of old that settles deep into wood and stone that makes a place feel like it's always been there. Eleanor had found it almost by accident, a last-minute rental when she needed to escape the suffocating noise of the city. The listing had been vague but cheap, and when she arrived, she could see why. The house loomed, dark and weathered, its peaked roof like a hunched thing watching her approach. The key turned stiffly in the lock. The door groaned open, and the scent of dust and wood filled her lungs. The air inside was thick, heavy, as if it hadn't moved in years. The floorboards stretched out before her, worn and pale, disappearing into dim rooms where the light barely reached. She stepped inside, setting her bags down. The house exhaled. A deep, slow creak rippled through the floor beneath her feet, followed by another, higher, sharper, like strained wood. She paused. Houses settled, old wood expanded and shrank. But this sound was different. It moved, traveled, not a single creak, but a series, as though the house were shifting, waking. Eleanor ignored it. She moved through the house, past the hollow fireplace, the narrow staircase leading up to shadowed rooms. The walls pressed close, the air carrying the scent of something old beneath the dust. Upstairs, she found the bedroom, large, cold, with a single window that faced the trees. That first night, she lay in bed listening. The house breathed around her, not just creaks, something deeper. A sigh, soft and distant, coming from inside the walls. She barely slept. In the morning, she convinced herself it had been her imagination, a trick of fatigue and silence. She went about her day, exploring the house, touching its walls, pressing her hands against the wood. It was solid, normal. But when night fell, the house sighed again. It was not the wind, not the distant groan of pipes. It was something else, something waiting. Eleanor tried to ignore the sounds. Houses made noise, especially old ones. Wood warped with time. Air moved through unseen cracks. She told herself this as she went about her days, unpacking, adjusting to the solitude. But the nights were different. Lying in the dark, she could hear it. The slow, measured sigh that moved through the house like a living thing. It came from everywhere and nowhere, a deep exhalation woven into the bones of the structure. It wasn't the sound of the wind or the groan of timber settling. It was something deliberate. On the third night, she stayed awake, listening. The sighs came in intervals, not rhythmic, not mechanical. Some were long and drawn out, others quick and shuddering, like something breathing in its sleep. She pressed her hand against the wall beside her bed. The wood felt cool, solid, but beneath the surface, something shifted. A faint vibration, like the slow rise and fall of a sleeping chest. Eleanor jerked her hand back. Her heart pounded. She sat up, gripping the blanket, straining to hear beyond the soft whisper of her own breath. The house sighed again. It came from below this time, the floorboards murmuring with the weight of the sound. It traveled, drifting through the walls, settling in the ceiling above. She held herself still, forcing her breath to quiet, trying to convince herself that it was nothing. But then she heard something else, a sound beneath the sighing. Faint, almost imperceptible, but there. A voice. Not words, not quite. More like a murmur, swallowed by the heavy wooden walls. It was inside the house, threaded through the bones of it. lost within the breath that filled the empty spaces. She turned on the bedside lamp, the light weak and yellow against the heavy dark. The sound didn't stop. If anything, it deepened, as though the house was aware of her wakefulness. The walls felt closer than before, the air heavier. Morning couldn't come fast enough. Eleanor didn't sleep. She lay in the dim glow of her bedside lamp, staring at the ceiling, heart hammering against her ribs. The sighs didn't stop. They grew deeper, closer, pressing in from all sides. The house wasn't just settling, it wasn't just old, it was alive. The walls trembled. The floor beneath her bed let out a groan, not the dry creak of aging wood, but something wet, shifting, a pulse. She bolted upright. The air thickened, growing humid, damp with something that smelled like earth, like rot. Then the whisper came, not outside, not beyond the walls. It was in them, woven through the grain of the wood, rising from the floor, dripping from the ceiling. "You're inside me." The voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was everywhere. It slid into her ears, into her lungs, curling through her veins. Eleanor scrambled from the bed, her bare feet pressing against the floor and sinking. The wood was soft, pliant, no longer dead and solid, but something else, something warm. A heartbeat thumped beneath her. She stumbled backward, gasping. The walls pulsed, the doorframe stretched, inhaling as though the entire house had drawn breath. Her own breath hitched. Her skin felt too tight, her bones too small. The air closed in, pressing against her, seeping into her. The house exhaled, and Eleanor screamed as the walls swallowed her whole.